The perfect camp. Taft landed his first D1 offer 4 days after doing it. Maddie is going D1 and so is Grayer by implementing the same thing. But what I'm about to share goes against everything that you've been told about football recruiting. Most players think they need to grind it out at camp after camp, hoping to get lucky and catch a coach's eye. We created the perfect camp that allows you to replicate the camp process with every single D1 coach in the nation without spending 6 hours in a car, hundreds of dollars on gas or hotels, or dealing with the uncertainty of traditional camps. But most players will never discover this because they're stuck in the old way of thinking that they believe if they just work hard enough and attend enough camps, coaches will eventually notice them. Now, I was at this D1 camp my junior year of high school. I drove 4 hours to get there, spent $300 or more on gas, hotel. There was probably 180 kids at the camp, all trying to impress the same 8 to 10 coaches. Now, I'm standing in line waiting to run my 40, and I knew that I could run about a low 4.6, usually a low 4.61, 4.62. My legs were shot from sitting in the car and waiting for the 30 other kids in my group to run their 42. So I look up, see who's timing us, and it's a 24-year-old assistant who's picking his nose in between reps. So I get up to the start line, I take off the 40 yards, and I go and I'm running, and I hear the nose picker announce my time after I crossed the line, 4.76. Damn. Now, while I was walking back to the line, I saw a player at my same position run the exact same time of 4.76, and it was on the dot. We performed similar in the one-on-ones, in the drills too, but it didn't hit me until after the camp wrapped up. I saw that same kid talking to the coaches like they had known each other for years. Now, luckily, I asked him his name while we were both waiting in line, and as my dad drove me home those 4 hours, I looked the kid up on Twitter, and those same coaches had visited his high school earlier in the year, and he was consistently getting graphics from that school too. And that's when I realized it's not about how well you do or you don't do at camp, it's about who knows you before you even get to camp. My next high school football season, my high school girlfriend made it crystal clear to me that was the case too. Now let me explain. So about 2 months before I started talking to her, I put up 6 touchdowns in the first half against her high school, and she was at the game watching in the stands. But she had no idea who I was at the time. And when I brought it up to her after we started dating, she didn't remember hearing my name or the 6 touchdowns from that night. Nothing, it was like it had never even happened. But if she knew who I was and was there to watch me specifically, that'd be a different story. And it's the same thing with these coaches. They're at camp with 200 or more kids, but if they don't know who you are before camp, then they're not watching you. They're watching the players they already know, like, and trust, which is why you need to showcase yourself and get eyeballs on you before camp even happens. But I didn't understand this, and I failed my first recruiting process. And that's when the idea for the perfect camp was born. And I'm gonna show you exactly how it works right here, right now. So here's what I realized 3 years later while helping our first athlete get recruited. I wondered, what if I could replicate everything they test at camp, the 40, the shuttle, and the drills, but do it in my own environment when I'm fresh and I'm ready to perform at my absolute best? What if I could get that video in front of every single college coach in the country before I even step foot on their campus for camp? And instead of gambling with my future at camps where everything had to be perfect to get Elsa on someone's timeline and get on their board, I could control every variable. I could film it when I'm ready, I could show my best times, and I could get it in front of 1,000 times the eyeballs and more coaches than I'd ever meet at camps. And then when I actually do show up at camps, I'm not the unknown kid hoping to actually get noticed. I'm the kid that they've been waiting to see actually in person. They've already seen move around. It's exactly how our guys are getting an unfair advantage in the recruiting process. But let me break it down, what it looks like and how the perfect camp works and why it's a better option than just relying on traditional camps alone. So let me paint a picture of what most of you are probably doing right now. You get to the camp and there's 200 other kids there. You're standing in line for 45 minutes just to run your 40-yard dash. And when you finally get your turn, you're tired from standing around, your legs are tight from the long car ride, and some grad assistant who doesn't care is timing you with a stopwatch that might not even be accurate. So you run a 4.8 when you know you can run a 4.5 or a 4.6 on your best day. The coaches barely even look your direction because there's 30 other kids that they're watching at the same exact time. You blend into the crowd, you drive home that night with nothing to show for it except a camp t-shirt and some sore legs. And here's the crazy part about it too. There's a way to get in front of more coaches in one day than you would meet at 10 different camps. And you can do it from your own field, in your own environment, when you're fresh and ready to perform at your absolute best. So what exactly is the perfect camp? It's pretty simple. At every camp, you run the 40, the shuttle, the 3-cone, or the L drill, and maybe some position-specific drills. You do all the same measurables that coaches use to evaluate players, but what we're gonna do is replicate that exact process. You're gonna recruit your dad or your mom or your little brother to film you, or you could buy a $20 tripod off Amazon too. You're gonna go to your local field, that same field where you've been training, where you're comfortable, where you can perform, and you're gonna run your own perfect camp. You're gonna run the 40, the shuttle, the L drill, the broad jump, and those position drills, and film your best reps. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and explain exactly how to film this because it's frankly not rocket science, right? You get a tripod and you set up your phone. But first you need to understand that we don't call this the cheat camp or the almost perfect camp, right? It's called the perfect camp because we wanna showcase your best times honestly and accurately. So if you're someone considering cheating your time somehow, you're actually probably pretty doomed because D1 players do not take shortcuts. But here's the key. You want to add a stopwatch overlay to the video too so the times are clearly visible and coaches don't have to take out their own stopwatch. But here's where most players mess this up. They haven't mastered the little techniques with the 40, the shuttle, and the L drill, so they're leaving a couple tenths on the table. That's why we give our guys the same tips and tricks that the NFL Combine guys use to shave tenths off of their times. But you can imagine, even if they have great times, you'll still post that to maybe your 75 Twitter followers right now and wonder why no coaches see it. There's a specific way to get this in front of 1,000 times more coaches, and that's the real secret sauce that we give inside of our program and we hold back here on YouTube. But let me show you exactly what this looks like when it's done right. So here is our guy Taft. This is his perfect camp video that I mentioned at the beginning. So look at this layout. It's very clean, professional. Times are clearly visible. Posted this on May 3rd, and 4 days later, Drake offered him on May 7th for his first D1 offer, and Columbia offered him a month later. Now, keep in mind, he didn't go to either of those camps. He didn't visit either of those schools, but he was still able to replicate that camp process from his own field in his hometown, saving him time and allowing him to go to those bigger and better camps during the summer. Now notice the view count on this, it's 1.1K views. Now if you only have your 75 Twitter followers, you probably won't get the same results, right? And especially if your numbers are mid, but this type of post is an example of a proof post. It's meant to showcase ability and convert interest to offers. It's not meant to go viral on Twitter, right? Meaning that we can use this post in our outreach as a supplement to our game film. And coaches can evaluate you on how you move before you even commit to going to their camp and spend that money. Now, it's the same for Maddie, who's a long snapper, and he replicated the camp process and used these type of proof posts to go on multiple Power 4 visits and earn offers too. Same for Grayer as a quarterback, using those proof posts and replicating the camp process in his own environment. Now, to be clear, these guys are still traveling across the country for camps, but the coaches know who they are and they've already evaluated them. This is where most players get stuck, is they have the talent, but no way to get in front of the right people. And if you do this on your own, I have no idea if it will or won't work for you, because you could send some Twitter DMs, some emails, and hope coaches see your post. You might get a few responses if you're lucky, but the guys like Taft, Maddie, and Grayer were able to get thousands of D1 eyeballs on them through our exposure engine, and they have a process to take from a coach from a view or follow to a DM, phone number, visit, and offer. They had a system that guaranteed coaches would see their ability instead of just posting the perfect camp and hoping that it goes well. Because one of the biggest mistakes that you could make is not having the entire strategy, just implementing part of it or what you just see here on YouTube or over on Instagram, and not having the camps with visits lined up this summer. And by the time you realize it in May or June, it's gonna be too late to fix. Because Taft, Maddie, and Gray are qualified for our one-to-one program, we guarantee that they get a scholarship offer that they're satisfied with, but it's only for those who have varsity film and have already done the training or the camps in the past. So if that sounds like you and you think you and your film might qualify, then I'm gonna invite you to apply down below with the link in the description and book in a call with me or my team. We'd run you through the same system that I used to go from D3 to Power 4 and how over 50 others have gone on to play college ball with it too. Now, because it is a one-to-one program, there's a natural cap just to keep the quality of service high, and we only work with about 25 players per class, and new spots open up as current players commit and graduate out. So if there are any open spots currently, you'll see that open application below. So go ahead, fill it out, book in a call with me or my team, and we'll see if it's a fit. But if you're still unsure, go ahead and watch this video right now that breaks down how I went D1 as a 0-star recruit.